Hello?
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
What's your name?
My name is Ben.
Ben, how's the day going for you?
Good. I just got some questions on home ownership. I'm a young guy and I'm about to get to that age where it's kind of something I'm starting to worry about, but it's kind of one of those things in today's day and age that it's a little daunting.
You've come to the right place, buddy. You've come to the right place. Okay. So tell me, Ben, how old are you?
I just turned 21.
You in school?
I am. I'm in school right now. I've got the rest of this year and then one more year after, and then I'm off into the real world.
Awesome. What are you studying?
Right now I'm in business.
Beauty.
hmm
And tell me what home ownership looks like to you right now.
Well, just seeing with like house prices and stuff all over the place, it almost feels like it's a little bit unattainable. I'm fortunate enough that I'm going to come out of school with no student debt. Like my parents are helping me with that, and I've personally been able to save up roughly $40,000. So I feel like I'm on a good track for my age. But then I see these house prices, and then I'm like, oh no, maybe not.
So listen, 21 years old, in school, studying business, no student debt, 40K saved.
Yeah,
Good job.
roughly.
Good job. Good job. Better
Thank
than
you.
the average already.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, how quickly do you plan on purchasing? Like when you think about home ownership, how far down the line is that in years?
When I really started thinking about it, I kind of made it my goal by 25. I wanted to buy a house, but I mean that number could shift and change, but the goal has always been 25 pretty much.
Okay. Okay. And when you're thinking about that first home, what's that purchase price realistically look like today?
Like just based off what I've seen for like smaller homes, I'd say like 800,000 ish range.
Whoa. Okay. 800,000.
Like I wish it would be lower, but like I said, just the limited amount of research I've done, the home prices now are crazy.
Okay. Where are you looking to buy?
I would like to stay in the Niagara region.
Okay. Well, I mean, Niagara region, 800,000. That's a pretty good home. Like you what are you going to do with all that space?
I'm not sure. Like originally my goal was to maybe go down the kind of house hacking road, I guess you could say, and buy a duplex or something with a suite and then rent out one half and live in the other half.
Okay. Okay.
So that's always been an appealing option to me. But once again, with that, there's even more like kind of barriers with rental agreements and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But in an ideal world, I guess I'd like to go down that route.
What is it that you like? What sort of salary do you expect to earn when you get out of university?
Fresh out of university, I'm not sure exactly what I want to go into, but I've been looking at more like consulting. And based off of just what I've seen and heard, I would say right out of school, probably 50 to 60,000.
50 to 60,000. Okay. So here's any idea how much you need to put down as a very minimum as a down payment?
I believe 5%.
So 5% is of the first 500,000 purchase price. But now if you're going to 800,000, you're going to need to have $55,000 of a down payment
Okay.
saved. So you're close by, obviously, but then
Yeah.
you're going to have, of course, some other closing costs that are going to be included in that you're going to have to save for as well, right?
Yeah.
So there's land transfer taxes, there's an insurance premium you're going to pay on that original mortgage amount, right? That you're going
Yeah.
to then also have to pay PST on, and then there's going to be other small closing costs. You're probably looking at somewhere around $20,000 of closing costs, anywhere between 15 to 20,000. You'll get a rebate about 4,000. So call it 15K that you'll have to save for closing, plus 55,000 for down payment. You're looking at $70,000. But then here's my biggest worry for someone like yourself is going to be the payment, right?
Yeah.
So if today, in this day and age, what sort of, if you're gonna let's say earn 55 to $60,000 your first year out of university, and let's say 3-4 years down the line you end up purchasing, you're going to need to, what's a comfortable payment you think you'll be able to make?
I would say maybe 3,000-4,000.
Right. So on this mortgage, which is going to be about $775,000 at today's rates over an amortization of 25 years, you're looking at about a $4,500 a month payment plus property taxes plus other bills. So I love where you're going in terms of you focusing on home ownership and having it in your purview. I think what I would recommend you to do is when the time comes for you to go through an actual pre-approval and figure out what those real numbers look like, and someone that's going to challenge you and say, okay, let's look at, instead of maybe 800,000, let's maybe look at something a little bit less, which will get you in quicker. It'll be more achievable for you, and you can still, maybe rent out a basement or rent out a couple rooms to a couple buddies, because someone within your group has to have the courage to pull the trigger. It sounds like you have the courage to pull the trigger. So, I mean, that's the good piece here. You have some money aside. You have a goal in mind. I think maybe it's just realistically looking at this goal and saying, maybe I don't want you to bite off more than you can chew, right? Because if you're going to earn $60,000, there's no way you're going to be able to float $6,000 a month of costs, right?
Yeah.
So we're always here to look at, the one side of the other side of the coin. So there's the needs and the wants, and obviously where you'd like to be. So that's what I would recommend to you. The last thing I would say is to increase your down payment, because I know we got to wrap up here. I know you got probably class to go to, but to increase your down payment from now until when you graduate, how much are you adding every month to that down payment of $40,000?
While I'm in school, I make a little bit of money on the side, so it's probably about $300-ish.
Okay.
That's while I'm in school, and then when I'm out of school, it's probably $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Okay.
When I'm working full time during my summers.
Okay, is that net after expenses? That's what you're able to put aside?
Yeah, I do live very frugally, and I still live at home with my parents and stuff. So I'm lucky in that way. When I'm home for the summer, I don't really have food expenses or anything like that, or rent or anything.
Attaboy. And what do you do on Friday and Saturday nights?
Honestly, not a whole lot.
Good job. Because that's my biggest grind. I know we've got a lot of pressures out there, but listen, if you put this as a goal for yourself, it is totally achievable. I know that people in your generation right now are feeling like it's just too far out of reach, but it is not. It is doable. People are doing it. Just less people are doing it because instant gratification gets in the way. So if you're ready to sacrifice, it is possible. So keep doing what you're doing. And I would say just lower those expectations of purchase price, and it'll be done. It'll be done, Ben.
Awesome.
Okay, buddy.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Any questions otherwise or no?
I don't think so. I think you covered it all. That kind of puts a little ease to me. Gives me a little bit of ease.
Good. Well, listen, you're on the right track, and you know what? We're here to help whenever you need it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben.
Have a good one.
You too, bye. Thank you so much for watching. So this call with Ben was great. He's on the right track. I love hearing someone who's 21 years old and has some money saved, no student debt. Obviously, he's fortunate. He has some help from family, but he's leveraging that, right? Which I think is really, really important. He's not wasting money on the weekends. I'm not saying for people to be hermits and stay in their homes, but literally, find a way to save some money and earn some money. Just because you're in school doesn't mean you can't go out and earn. There's a lot of time out there. A lot of people are scrolling instead of going and pounding the pavement, working hard. So you can do a little bit of both. He's saving. He has a goal in mind to purchase, which I also think is really important. It's in the priorities. He actually knows he wants to buy in the next 3 years. He's on the right track. It was great to see, and I love these conversations. So this was great. It was great.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Who is this? Who am I speaking with?
This is Rachel.
Rachel.
I heard about your show, so I wanted to call in.
Well, nice to talk to you, Rachel.
Thanks. You as well.
How can I help you today?
I've just been concerned lately. I own a house. I'm married, and my son had just recently quit his job and has moved in. He's 27 and is now living in our basement. And I'm just looking for advice to get on that. It's been forever since he's been out of the home, so just looking on how to move forward with having him back in our home.
Yeah, that's quite the change for you guys, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, obviously you want to be there for him in a time of need, right? How long ago did he lose his job?
6 months ago.
6 months. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while. He just recently moved in last month though, so he's run low on funds, and I'm not really too sure on his financial situation as of yet.
Okay. And so does he have an education or formal education? What kind of job was he doing, or what is he really passionate about?
I'm not too sure on what his current interest is, but he finished high school and he was kind of just working job to job kind of situation.
Okay.
I think he was just currently doing retail, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Yeah. So Rachel, I mean, here's what I would say. I mean, 27 years old, quit his job. Of course, the circumstances behind it, maybe you don't have those circumstances behind the job or why he quit. But I would say, obviously it's good you're there for him. You want to be able to have a place to help him out during this difficult time. But what's first alarming to me is the fact that it's been 6 months since he lost his job or he quit. And of course now he's run out of funds, or he's finding a place to sort of land. And what you don't want to do is have this turn out to be some long drawn out sort of crutch, right?
Exactly. Yes. I want to make sure that we're setting our boundaries and taking care of that on our end, because it's definitely having a long term is something I don't want.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And especially, if he left the house and now he's coming back, there's all those internal struggles happening, I'm sure, for him. So number one, here's what I would recommend. Sit down with him if you haven't already to find out what the plan is. Like having him come in, I know you can't kind of go back and relive the past. So now you have to look forward and say, listen, let's sit down tonight, pen and paper, old school style, which I'm sure, Rachel, you're fine with, old school.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah, and sit him down and ask him some tough questions. In fact, what I would tell you to do is give him the questions ahead of time and say, here, this is what we're going to discuss tonight. Come prepared. So he is going to have to come prepared with things like how much he has saved, right? In his savings account. What's he doing for income or going to do for income? Where's he spending his money? All those little things that you're going to need to know. And then what's his plan? Because this can't be a never plan. Like you can't continue going on like this. Maybe their circumstances are tough. Maybe he's going through something, and we all are sympathetic to that. But, you have to look forward and gather the pieces together, and you're there to help him, but you can't do it for him, right?
I think that's important, setting those expectations and giving that to him ahead of time, having him come prepared, and,
now,
again, setting those boundaries so that we have goals and plans to look forward to and set in place.
Oh, certainly. Now, the other thing I would say is I think you should come to that meeting with some, he's going to perceive as bad news, but I think for you is good news, is you're going to come to that meeting with a lease. You should come to that meeting and let him know that he is going to be paying rent from now on. And he can't just be freeloading off you. You need to charge him some rent, and something that is market rent. You think you can do that?
It's going to be hard being the mom, but that's something to definitely put into place for sure.
Yeah.
It's something that we we need to do.
Well, one thing is for sure. I'm not saying this that you need to do it on your own. I mean, your husband needs to come to the table too. Needs to be a family affair. This needs to be, a joint effort for everybody together
Oh,
to sit
absolutely.
down
Yeah.
and say, okay, what's your son's name, by the way?
Pardon?
What is your son's name, by the way?
Levi. Levi.
Yeah. So what you're going to need to do is have Levi come to the table and sit down with him, and you and your husband are going to have to go, okay, Levi, show me these bank statements. Let's see what you've got. What is your plan? Do you have a resume? Do you have what tools do you need from us to help you? What are you doing in the last 6 months to get yourself back in on your feet? And lastly, starting or effective, give them a reasonable amount of time. Don't give them 2 months. Give them in 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, you are going to start paying us rent. And that rent is going to be X amount of dollars because you can't live here for free. In fact, I would also say that you're going to, if he's going to have room and board, he has to pay room and board.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the more you feed the beast, the longer that beast will stay. It sounds like you got yourself a basement dweller there, and you don't want to have that forever, right? So you're doing this for his own good, right, Rachel?
Yeah.
You're not doing this to be malicious.
Tough love.
Tough love is good love.
Yeah.
Tough love is good love, right?
It's good. Just giving him those tools and helping him grow. That's essential. So.
Yes. And then at some point, the help doesn't end there. Give them the tools. Financial literacy is taught in the home. So you have to give them some tools to budget and look at, what is he going to do with his money once he gets a job? Not only pay you rent, room and board, but also what's the plan afterwards, right? Because there has to be an exit strategy long term, and then eventually maybe renting, and then from there renting elsewhere to buying. You have to show these all as possibilities, because if you don't, he's going to kind of limit himself, right? He's got to be
right, and I think that's what it came down to, a little bit of depression after the loss of job and that. So.
Yeah. So that's what I would say to you to do is he needs some tough love, and obviously it's all in for good purpose, and don't give him any sort of free ride, because no one gets a free ride in this world, and so and you're doing it for his own good. And you know what? Between you and I and your husband, if you guys wanted to take that money that he pays you, and put it aside for him later on to help him for a down payment on a home. If you guys can afford it, and you call it the Levi Fund, and at some point later on down the road, he has you have some money to gift him for a down payment. That would also
that's a great
really
idea.
be right. So again, this is all teaching delayed gratification. Our youth is too used to wanting everything now. So this is a great way for you to kind of also help yourself to create a nest egg to help him purchase in the future. So hopefully that is also a good piece of advice for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Good. Well, Rachel, thanks so much for your calls. Any other questions you have or anything else?
No, that was it for me. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Take care.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, anyone there?
Hi, this is Cassandra.
Oh, hi. I'm just calling in to get some homeowner advice.
Great. Let's start with your name.
So my name's Claudia. I'm 28 years old. So I'm just trying to financially plan for my future right now, but I'm kind of at a bit of a loss.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Claudia. So you said you're 28 years old. Tell me a little bit about your current situation.
Yeah, so I've completed school, I've done university, college, all of that. So I've been working a full-time job probably for the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
It is a nonprofit, which I would say I make enough to pay my bills every month, but not necessarily to save. But in 2021, I did start a small business, which has provided me with the opportunity to save money every month, but it really just depends how many orders I'm able to get out and how much people are purchasing. So it's kind of a variable. I am renting right now, and I have no debt to date, so that part, I guess, is good. But I would say, the next logical step would be to buy a home or have assets of some sort, but I don't know, like how that would be feasible.
Okay, so let's first talk about your income. So you said you're working a full-time job and you've got a side gig, which is a great way to save a little bit of extra money when you're really trying to get that cash injection to buy your first property. So congratulations, that was a great first start. What are your current earnings like at your full-time job?
So I think with a little bit of like a wage increase that I had recently, I bring in about 2,600 clean a month.
Per month? Okay.
Yeah. And then with my side business, it's very variable, but I would say about 1,000 a month, sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less. It really just depends on the month and people's purchasing habits.
So you've mentioned that you are already renting. What are you currently comfortable with paying per month on rent?
So I do have a pretty good deal with rent. So it's about 1,100 plus hydro, but no other utilities, just hydro I pay for.
Okay. And you mentioned you have no debt, but you are out of school. Did you leave school with any student debt?
I did not. I was fortunate enough to not have any debt for that.
And what about auto loans?
Nope. I paid my car in cash.
Perfect. Okay, so that gives us a great basis to try to see how far away you are from affording a home that you are looking for. Have you started to look into real estate at all to figure out kind of what the price point is that's speaking to you right now in terms of what type of house you'd be looking for?
Yeah, so I have looked a few times. There's been moments where I've gotten very into buying a home and then other times of feeling just defeated. So it's always been in that maybe 500,000 price point, definitely on the lower end, fixer upper, that sort of thing.
And have you been able to save while you've been renting?
I guess that's kind of been the problem. Like I have some months I am able to save like 1,000.
Okay.
Some months I'm not able to, but really that savings is coming from what I do in my business.
So how much would you say you have saved today?
I would say about just after paying some bills, maybe 24,000.
24,000. Okay, so you're looking at doing approximately 5% down, which is insured mortgage program, where you're putting less than 20% down. Are you familiar with what an insured mortgage is?
I'm not, no.
So an insured mortgage is when you are putting less than 20% down on your purchase. The bank requires you to have what's called default insurance, which is rolled into your mortgage amount. Now, the nice thing about that, it allows you to get into the market a little bit sooner because you don't need to save quite as much up for your down payment. And it gives the bank a little bit of security because they are not requiring that 20% down and they've got the insurance in place for any default. They're willing to take that risk on a young buyer who does not have as much skin in the game, if you will. When you have an insured mortgage, you can only amortize your mortgage over 25 years. But you are also able to get some pretty nice rates when you have an insured mortgage. So the good news is you would be able to go forward with your 5% down as long as we have the income to support it. You're currently paying about $1,100 per month in rent. How much more do you think you could afford per month if you turned that into a mortgage?
Oof. Not sure. I mean, it's just hard because of like other expenses, right? It's not just the rent expenses. It's the you got your cell phone, you got your, I have business expenses. What else? Just looking at my sheet here. By the time you pay for subscriptions and gas and groceries. So I'm not sure how much more I would say maximum like 2,000 a month.
Okay, perfect. So from my rough math here, I estimate that very shortly you'd be able to purchase for approximately $400,000 to stay within your budget. And you might by that point have approximately 10% down, which will lower that overall payment. I wanted to toss out a few other ideas to you. Since you do have sort of a limited budget per month, would you ever consider going into a purchase with a friend or relative in order to share the costs and potentially finding something that you could both start off in?
Yeah, so I have spoken, or my dad has spoken with me about, instead of giving money when they pass, to be able to provide us with, me and my siblings with money, prior to that to help us buy a home, to get started.
So that definitely is an option. It's just trying to be, confident in my decision and also feeling self-sufficient. So yes, there is the potential to have a parent help me with that.
That would be amazing. So there's two ways parents can help. They can help by adding down payment. Adding down payment would, of course, lower your mortgage amount, which would make it a little bit more affordable for you per month. There's also an option for them to go on title or act as a guarantor, where we would be able to use their income to help you qualify. Now, the thing with that I like to keep in mind with first-time homebuyers is that you're still responsible for the monthly mortgage payment. So it's important that if you're able to qualify for a lot more, that we've done some work on your budget to make sure that the payment is still within reason. Now, the other option that I suggested, perhaps buying with a friend, if you were able to find a property that you could have a roommate in, sharing the costs of the household expenses along with the mortgage will keep it a lot more affordable. So you'd be likely doubling your down payment because you'd have somebody adding to that pot, as well as sharing in the household expenses, sharing in hydro, sharing in the water bill, sharing with the mortgage, and you're able to stretch your budget a little bit further. That would also be an option I would recommend that you consider in your situation. We find in today's market it's difficult even for a young couple to purchase on their own without some help. I'm not sure if you've ever looked into what the statistics are, but we have reviewed them on our show before, and most first-time homebuyers are getting some sort of help, whether that's gifted down payment, a co-borrower, or so forth. So I am encouraging young buyers to potentially also look at sharing in a house with somebody to share those bills, because being able to afford more doesn't necessarily make it a more affordable for you. That monthly payment is really key when you're looking at starting your budget. So from here, I would recommend maybe speaking to family and friends on solidifying really what help they can provide and then getting a complete pre-approval.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I think at 28, I'm trying to get to that, next point or plan for the next, 5-10 years down the road. So, yeah, that's definitely something that's coming up that I would like to start speaking more with my parents about. So,
absolutely. Another thing you can do is go through all of your monthly expenses. I usually recommend printing off about 6 months of bank statements as well as credit card statements, looking at all your reoccurring expenses and really going through the exercise to understand what you actually spend per month and putting yourself together a household budget. So simulating what it would be like to live in a home, to really understand what a mortgage payment would feel like with your current budget. We never want to overextend ourselves, so that's a great first place to start. So when you do sit down with your mortgage broker to have that full pre-approval, you can confidently tell them, I am comfortable spending X number of dollars per month on my mortgage, and we can help you work backwards from there to make sure whatever mortgage we pre-approve you for will definitely fit within your budget.
So if I had my mortgage and based on kind of what I make and what I could afford for purchasing a home, what do you think the mortgage cost I would be paying would be?
So that's going to depend on the house that we sort of settle on as your budget. So that's where the pre-approval comes in place. I can tell you that on roughly a $500,000 mortgage, a $500,000 purchase with 5% down, you'd be looking at a mortgage payment close to $3,000 per month. So this is where when I saw that, that's where it kind of triggered me to maybe suggest the option of sharing a home with somebody to share in that household expense so that you could really, cut that in half and continue to save even once you become a homeowner.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something I've thought of as an option, or even just to have the home split where I live on the top floor and renovate the bottom, or buy a home that has already the kitchen and, emergency exit for someone to live in the basement.
Rental space would definitely be an asset. As the homeowner, you'd be able to rent out that space. In some cases, if the home you're interested in already has a separate unit, we can actually add some of that income to your income so that we can help you qualify for a little bit more. So we would look at that on a case-by-case basis with you just to make sure it makes sense for your overall lifestyle and budget, and that we would be able to use that income to help you qualify.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. I never knew that.
Yeah, lots of options when you're looking at entering into home ownership. This is where the relationship between your realtor and your mortgage broker is so important, because we can go through all of these options that we see every day that may not be so evident to somebody who's never been in the market before.
yeah, I would say I'm talking to like friends, you know, like in your 20s, you're still trying to kind of piece together things and learn about, you know, how do you move within your future. But I would say a lot of people wouldn't know that, because like I definitely didn't know that. And in conversations, I don't think any of my friends have ever brought that up.
Definitely lean on the professionals in your life, ask for recommendations, and start talking to people. That would be your first place to start, because we have a lot of knowledge and it's free to share. So we're more than happy to have those conversations with you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you giving me the advice.
Thank you so much for calling in, Claudia. It was nice chatting with you. Good
Thank
luck
you.
on
You
your
as
journey.
well.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
A little more like...
Ojo.
Hello. Hello.
Hello? Hi.
Who am I
This
speaking
is
with?
you're speaking with Joe.
Joe, thanks for calling in. How can I help you?
I just have a few questions about, finance and how I can start managing my funds better to prepare for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to help you. Tell me about yourself. Where you at in life? What are you doing? And what your plans are?
So right now I'm a third-year university student at Laurier.
Okay.
I'm a business student, and my funds are pretty limited. I have to be honest. I don't have much money. I spend it on either groceries, sports, or mainly just having fun. I have expenses like a car, so I have to spend money on gas. And I also live in a apartment with 4 buddies that I pay rent for.
So you live in a fourplex, or is it a house where you share? You have 4 different bedrooms and almost like a rooming house.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. And sort of, what are your questions? What sort of financial related questions do you have, or do you want to talk about home ownership? A lot of guys your age at this point are kind of keen on the subject a little bit. They're just not sure where to start. Where are you at? What questions do you have?
Yeah, so home ownership, especially now seeing prices, it's kind of scary to even think about where I'm at. So yeah, I do have a few questions on even how to begin planning to save up for a mortgage and putting a down payment on a home.
Okay.
What do you think is a realistic timeline for somebody like me who's not necessarily even in the business market right now and doesn't have a full-time job and only works part-time in the summer?
Well, I would say sort of, you mean like when to start?
Yeah, like when can I actually start considering putting down?
Yesterday, Joe. I think what you should do is really think of if you put focus on it. It doesn't mean it has to happen tomorrow, but if you actually put it in your purview and have it as a goal, and you write it down and say, "Listen, I want to own a home," and you actually put yourself a timeline. That could be, you said you're in third year, right?
Yes.
So you have one more year of school left?
I'm gonna do 1.5 because I want to play rugby.
Okay. Yeah. So 1.5, play some extra rugby. That's good. I love that. And then so in a year and a half, you're going to then leave school and then enter the job market, or are you going to start a business? What's the plan?
Probably enter the job market. I'm not 100% in what field yet, but with a business degree, I figure it gives me the flexibility to go into, or to have a step ahead at least, if I get my real estate license, if I get my insurance, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
then, and how much have you saved up at this point for any sort of, potential eventual down payment?
I have around 10,000 in the stock market, but nothing else saved up.
Okay.
Like the rest I use strictly for food, for just basic living necessities.
Have you do you have a job or a part-time job?
No, at school I don't.
At school you don't. Okay. So, and what about in the summers?
In the summer I work like 50-hour weeks at a landscaping company.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's so you do some heavy lifting then in summer.
Yeah.
All right. And so, and is that how you fund your year in terms of finances, or do you get some help from parents?
I do get some help from my parents.
Okay. And is that a fixed budget you get every month from parents?
No, it's I reach out most of the time and I ask like, hey, could you pay for my groceries this week, or specifically like if I need books or different programs for school,
Okay.
different apps and stuff, they would usually fund all school
Okay.
related.
Okay. And so let's get into the home ownership piece, just so I get a better understanding. Let's say at some point you end up purchasing, you grow that 10,000 to a decent nest egg. What does that, in today's prices, look like for you in the first place you'd want to live in?
Well, I mean, not great right now. I mean, if I'm planning to be a homeowner,
Yep.
isn't the average home around $500,000?
We can use that number. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. We can say $500,000. Depends on where you want to buy. We can use that number, $500,000. So if it's $500,000, then we absolutely at the very minimum need 5% down, which is $25,000 for a down payment. And of course, on top of that, you're going to need some money for closing costs, which are going to be somewhere around $10,000 for closing. So you need about $35,000. You're going to get some forgiveness there in terms of land transfer taxes. So you may be around 30 to, but you're going to need some moving expenses. So anyhow, you're around 35,000, right? That you're going to need down, so saved up for that to occur. And you know what? You probably, what I would suggest, and I always suggest this to people your age, is to speak to mom and dad or parents or family, someone who's done it before, to then discuss all of this very openly. You know, this is not your project. This is a project you guys, or you're going to do and take on, but you're going to need some help from people around you that love you. Right?
Yeah.
And if they love you, they're going to want to help you. That doesn't mean they're going to do it for you, but they're going to maybe help you in some way. And that could be with knowledge. That could be with maybe some help with down payment. That could be with maybe some help with, connecting you with the right people within the area that are going to help you with real estate or an approval for a mortgage or whatever it is, right? So those are all things that you're going to need around you. You're going to need the tools of the community around you to be able to help you. And then from there, let's talk about affordability. So when you leave university, do you know a rough idea of what people earn after a degree?
I don't have the slightest idea.
So give me an idea of what you hope to earn. How about that? Let's use that number.
At an entry-level job,
Yep.
I would hope to make 60 to 80,000. 60
to 80,000. I would say that's on the high end, to be honest. But hey, all the power to you. I think it's totally possible. You know, I got laughed out of a university classroom when a prof asked me and said, "How much you guys want to make when you get out of university, fourth year?" And in an auditorium of 300 people, I put my hand up and I said 60,000. The guy laughed at me in front of everybody. But it is possible. So I would say go at it. So a 25-year amortization, a $500,000 purchase price with 5% down. You're looking at a monthly payment. Any idea what that monthly payment would be?
No, if you gave me some time, I could probably do some calculations.
No, I want to throw it your way. I don't want you to take the time. Actually, I got the calculator, so I'm cheating a little bit. It's about $2,800 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so $2,800 a month. If you were to take that plus your bills, right? So then you got property taxes, right? And then you got other bills like water, hydro, heat, everything, right? So you're probably looking at a total monthly cost of what would we say here? I'm going to give you a number. Total monthly cost. Bear with me. Here we go. About $3,500. Okay, so you have $3,500. Okay. And you take $3,500 and you multiply that by 12, and that's going to give you $42,000 a year net after tax that you're going to need in order to cover the cost of home ownership for a $500,000 place.
And that's not even including the interest that would come on the cost of borrowing money.
That includes the interest. Yes, it does. Good question.
Okay.
Yeah, that does include the interest. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Raw reaction.
It seems like a lot of money. It seems almost unreasonable. to allocate that much money per year to a home, not including just other costs I need to live.
Yeah, so here's what we tend to do with people, because obviously you have to look at two things. One, either you cut expenses or you increase revenue, right? Those are two ways to create capacity for yourself. I would say that for you, what a lot of people need to be doing at your sort of in your generation when it's time to buy, not only obviously, as I told you already, include your family or people around you that already have done it before and can provide you advice and guidance and wisdom, but also find someone that can share expenses with you. Right? So that could be a friend, someone that you know, or a family member, cousin, that wants to move in with you, that either would purchase this with you and cut these expenses in half, or would rent from you a room, for example, that would then reduce the number of, reduce this expense, right, on a monthly basis for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to be willing. Listen, you're doing it right now. You're living with three guys, right?
Yeah.
So why not? You're living with three guys and you have no equity stake. Literally, you're doing it, and your equity stake is in a piece of paper you're going to get at the end of 4 years. You're going to have that you're going to then be able to take into the market and get a job. Now, what I'm telling you to do is do that with three other guys, but then have some skin in the game and have build some equity in a home. Make sense?
Yeah.
Even if you did it for 3 years and you said, guys, we're doing this for 3 years. You guys are going to get a place to live. I'm going to give you a break on the rent. I'm going to own this house. Everyone's got to have, obviously, carry their shovel. Everyone has to do something. You can't just freeload here, but you're going to live here. And then at the end of 3 years, away you go. Or you guys make a partnership and you guys purchase it together and then have an exit plan. After 3 years, you're going to go your separate ways. Someone will buy the house, but you're all going to come out with some equity.
Yeah.
Right? So way to chop this $42,000 number down.
So I just had another question about the down payment.
Shoot.
You said 5,000. You said, sorry, 5%.
Yes.
Would it be more wise to aim for 20%?
Oh, absolutely.
So that I don't have to borrow as much?
Absolutely. So that 5% down, which is 25, so that 5% down, which is 25K, is also going to cost you $19,000 plus PST for mortgage default insurance. That is mandatory, right? So essentially it protects the lender or the bank from default. So if you default on that mortgage, the bank gets their money back. Okay, that's why they're lending this money to you at a really good interest rate. With very little skin in the game, is because there's insurance to back it up. There's literally no risk for them, right?
Yeah.
So that costs you, and that 19 grand is expensive, right? It's almost the same amount as the down payment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you come up with 20% down, I'll give you an example. Parents gift that to you, right? You come up with 25, which is 5%. Parents come up with 75, and now that's 20% down on a $500,000 home. You now carry a mortgage of $400,000, right? Yeah, you eliminate that $19,000, so it's a huge savings. And your payment can be now two things, stretched over a longer period of time. And I just took your payment down to $2,100 a month.
Okay. Yeah.
See that?
So a significant amount.
It's a huge savings. Now, and you could still, implement that strategy I told you about, sharing costs and stuff like that. And that you can get ahead even more. But that does save you quite a bit of a chunk. But this is why it's important to bring family on board, right? And doesn't, like I said, some will help with down payment. Most do will help with down payment or co-sign or guarantee a mortgage or a combination of thereof. But many of them even just provide, advice and connections as well. So yeah, the down payment is a key piece. So I know you told me you spend money on groceries, on sports, and fun. I'm not telling you not to have fun, but definitely what you want to consider is all that hard-earned money that you spend, you earn in the summers, working 50 hours a week. Start taking some of that money and add it to that $10,000 you've got saved in the stock market. And if it's working for you in the stock market, start adding to it, right? Get that compounding effect going.
Yeah, well, it's just a lot of index funds and blue chip stocks that are
beauty. Yeah, I love
guaranteed
that.
to go. So it's a slow rise, but it's still a rise.
But it's reliable, right? At least.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And then you start adding to that. And what you're doing then at that point is that's going to grow. And it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. You know, you need to make a commitment that you're not going to take out of that 10K. That's going to become 15,000 or 20,000 even before the summer starts. And you know what you're going to be working 50 hours a week. Multiply that hourly, figure out what that is on a weekly basis, figure out that budget, and then start saying, commit to yourself how much you're going to add to that $10,000. Start now. You know, you asked me at the beginning, the first thing is, when should I start? You should start now. It doesn't mean you have to buy tomorrow, but you should start now. Make it a focus. Create a list of priorities and actually bump that entry that says home ownership at a higher level within the priority list. And it will happen a lot quicker than you think.
Hey, thank you.
My pleasure, Joe. Anything else? Any other questions?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. You've given a lot to think about, especially because I'm going to be living at home. Well, this is my plan after university, so I'll have very little expenses. So most of that will just be able to go into a savings account and into an investment account.
I love it.
In order to prepare to put that 20% down payment.
Yes. And one last piece of advice I give you is go get pre-qualified when the time comes. So ahead of time, do it ahead of time. So let's say, for example, the time you go and you end up moving back home, go and get pre-qualified so you know what you need in order to make it happen. So that you're not doing it kind of blindly, right? Get it done ahead of time. Create that plan first, and then you can execute it a lot easier.
So if I'm not mistaken, that's where I'd go to somebody who would essentially just evaluate if I'm able, or when I'd be able to buy a home, or how much I could borrow, or.
Yes, absolutely. That is someone who's going to create a plan. So pre-approval, a true pre-approval is someone who's going to create a plan based on what your needs or your wants are going to be. So what are you looking to achieve? Looking to buy a $500,000 home or $600,000 home, and I have $10,000 saved right now. Here's what I'm going to need to save in order to make that happen, and here's what I'm going to need to earn in order to make it happen. And then that'll force you to have a discussion with family in terms of how are they going to come to the table, or if they're going to come to the table to make it happen. And then from there, you have clarity, right? You're like, okay, I can do this. I can do this in 9 months. I can do this in 15 months. Because now you have a plan, and now it's time to be, implement rigor and accountability to that plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then again, I keep saying this delayed gratification. There's a big problem with delayed gratification. That is the epitome of it right there. You know what that's going to look like, and you're on your way. And every month you get closer to it, you see it happening. You see that savings build up. You're talking about it with your family. You're starting to get closer to it. You're talking to a real estate agent. You're talking to your mortgage broker, and now all of a sudden you see it happening, and it's materializing. You're getting there, and that's motivating, right?
Yeah, it is.
There you go. So hopefully this was helpful, Joe.
It was extremely helpful. Thanks so much. I have a lot to think about.
Awesome. That's great. Great to hear. Thanks so much for calling in.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you so much for tuning in. So speaking of Joe was great because obviously he has very limited knowledge on what it's going to take, but he's hungry for knowledge. I find a lot of people that age are hungry for knowledge once you get into it. He has some savings, which is great. And so now it's just a matter of realizing that he needs to prioritize home ownership now. Even if he's third year university, think about it. Write it down. Bump it up in that list of priorities. Go like priority number 2, maybe, and even number 3 maximum. And now at that point you realize, okay, it's there. I want to start looking into it. I want to gain some knowledge into it. I want to talk to my parents about it or my family members about it. And then from there, you're ready because you don't feel like it's an afterthought. You actually have it in your purview, and then you start talking about it with other people. And now eventually building a plan around it can happen. You don't have to build plan around it now, but eventually build a plan around it once. So for Joe's case, he was going to be living at home at that point in time. You realize, okay, that's when I'm going to build a plan. Right? That's what I'm going to make it happen. So I love having those calls with him, with guys like that, because they're motivated for sure to do it. Now just need a little bit more knowledge, but it's totally doable for these guys. So this was great.